And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
You may have heard of Tide of Iron, which is a game, a fantastic game Fantasy Flight released, and was reprinted eventually by 1A Games. They're a new company that was made just to reprint Tide of Iron, this very big war game with plastic pieces. Great game. Then they came out with a second game. They kickstarted this one called Hares Testing Ground. And it looks cool. It's about rabbits fighting in the... it has a really cool background, Watership Down, Red Wall type thing. It's actually a little bit PG-13 version of those, I guess, with guns and things. And so I was interested, and they said it was a lighter game than Tide of Iron. Okay, no problem there. Let's take a look at this and see if fighting with rabbits is super fun. Okay, the goal of this game is to pick one of these starting zones where you will put your rabbit piece. They have these. They also have pictures of the rabbits if you so want to use those. And you'll start at one of these starting zones, and your goal is to get to the factory up here and win. You're going to do that by moving along this track here, and you'll be doing that by rolling a dice. Now this person here has farther to go on a track than this person, but they have better spaces near them, so that's supposed to even that out. Now each player is going to choose a rabbit to start with. Each player has a rabbit here, and the rabbit has a title, like this guy is Hunter. There are certain cards that will affect hunters, and then there's a bunch of fluff, and this is a special advantage. If this guy rolls a 1 for any reason, he can choose to re-roll, and his own traps don't affect him. And then he has different items. As the game goes along, you will land on different spaces, which will give you an item, and you can place an item on top of whichever one you want, and now you have the special ability. For example, here, dead ends have no effect on you. Here, if you're ever attacking anyone, you can attack +1. There's also specialties, and if you land on a specialty space, you'll get those. The difference between specialties and the items is when you use those, they are taken off. And sometimes, like for example, this guy, he gets a whole extra card with him because he has the ability to set traps and leave traps in different areas for people. So here we have a savage. Here we have Carly, who has rage and has an undead token that moves along with her. Here's the HFP aggressor, the Dust Bunny. Here's Yobi. Here's Code Jackson. Here's Front Soldier. Here's Sugar Boy and Cobb. And so there's all sorts of different special abilities and different cards that you can use in this game, all to help you do well as you move along. Now, when you move, basically you're going to simply roll this die here, this green die, and the number that you roll is how many spaces you move. Unless you roll this symbol, in which case you roll the research die and do whatever it says. Unless you roll this symbol, in which case you look at which part of the board you're on. So let's say I'm in the far cut area. Then you go to these adventure boards, and you'll look for the one that says far cut, and you will do the special adventure. So you have a 1 out of 36 chance every time you roll at doing whatever the special adventure is of your area. And each of these you follow a very specific thing. It will tell you the story. It might give you choices here. And this one is the fall of Bit Town. So you can take advantage of the situation and take from the defenseless. You can take any marker and move 2 spaces ending your turn. Or you can fight the scavengers. You roll a die. On a 1, 2, or 3, you draw a card. And you can keep rolling and rolling and rolling and draw as many cards as you want. But if you roll 4, 5, or 6, you end your turn and go back 7 spaces. Now, why do you want to move on this board? Well, you want to move so you get to the final challenge. But whenever you move, you're going to look at the space you land on. There's blank zones, which do nothing. Here, if you land on a spot with a little bit of blood on it, you will draw a stronghold card. Stronghold cards, you can have up to 4 of them in your hand, are cards that you can play. Here, play before your movement. You can roll the research die up to 2 times. Play before you roll for movement. If someone's within 4 spaces of you, you can steal a card. Play this curse card on someone else, Juju Jr. Play this card to go forward 4 instead of rolling the movement die. Play this card to cancel another card. So these are cards that help you. If you land on this very bloody spot with a target, you have to draw a testing ground card. Testing ground cards are attacks. Here, this has a defense of 3. So I need to roll a 3 or higher, and if I do, I'll draw a card. Otherwise, I will lose an item that I might have. Here, it's just a bad thing. I have to go back 3 spaces, plus 1 space for each card that I have. Here, a radiation blast. I roll the challenge die and see what happens. Here, an undead attack with a defense of 4. Now, these have different things because some attacks might not affect you, or you might get bonuses and you can use cards against these attacks. And then other spaces you land on will give you the specialty marker or the item marker. Some will let you roll the research die, and some will activate the current event card. The current event card will affect almost everybody, and it usually has some sort of negative effect for everybody or positive effect. If you land on another player, you can fight that other player. You both roll a die, and highest roll wins, with cards and special effects coming into play there. Eventually, you're going to try to get to the factory, where not only do you have a factory defense of 3, where you have to beat it, but then you roll on here, on this chart here that's specifically made for the end of the game, and you will win or lose based on which situation you have to deal with. That's it. First person to get to the end and beat that card is the winner of the game. Well, if you just watch that walkthrough, you may guess where my opinion on this is going to be. I like the backstory, and I like the fact, I mean, the artwork is fine, and I like that they put a lot of effort into this game. But why? I'm confused here. I really am. It's as if the designer of this game, the only other game they've ever played in their life was Talisman, and they decided to make a game just like that, and they haven't played any other games in the past 20 years. I've got to believe that. I've got to believe that the designer of this game just hasn't played modern board games, because this is a flashback to old games where you roll a die and see what happens, because that is what this game is. You say, but Vasel, there are choices. You can pick which item you have. You can pick your specialties. Well, sure you can. But since you have no idea what's going to happen to you over the course of the game, you're just randomly guessing. Here, a trusty sword I can take. I can re-roll a 2 during an enemy attack. I mean, come on. When am I going to roll a 2? I don't know if I'll ever roll a 2. Here, dead ends have no effect on you. If I draw one, here, hold up the 2 extra cards. Well, that's useful. That's the one I'll probably take. If you roll an event, you may roll again. Oh, that's even better. That one I'll take. But it's not like there's a tough choice between these. And the game revolves around this die. I have played, and the person rolls a 1 and a 2 and a 1, and the other person rolls a 5. Then the person who rolls the 1 and 2 lands on the thing, and it says, go back 7 spaces. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is a roll and move game. It's a game where when you land somewhere, then you roll to see what happens. And when you fight someone else, you just roll. I love dice, folks. You know that. This is called the Dice Tower. But here you're just rolling, and seeing what happens. Then, that doesn't even take into effect that this game is so long for what it is. And these adventures are probably the coolest thing, but there's only a 1 out of 36 chance that they will happen. Then you have to read through all this fluff to find out that basically it's a push your luck. Roll a die. Well, I mean, they're not always push your luck, but many of them were simply push your luck, where you just say, I'm going to try something, roll dice, whoops, I failed. I lose something, or I get something. Man, I really wanted to like this game. When I heard about it, people said, well, it's light. Okay, well, light is fine. But this is less than light. This is bad design. You know, there are games where I often will talk about and say, hey, this is a game, I hate it, but at least I can see it's a well-designed game. Well, this is kind of the opposite. I kind of want to like this game, but it's badly designed. This is a terribly designed game, and it's like it's made for kids, but the storyline and the artwork, I mean, yeah, granted, this is the only game I know of that has a character that comes with a urine arrow. Yay, I suppose. But I mean, it's pretty heavy stuff for kids, and yet it's obviously like a kid-style game, but even kids' games, which I have many of, are better than this. I'm very disappointed with this, guys. I really thought it would be a good game, but it is not. That is Crosshairs. Dice Tower Judgment. Bad.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
All right, shut the door.